So we're going to start just by saying, first of all, that when you're teaching to children, children are not having to unlearn all of the things that they've accumulated in their life. They're kind of like open sponges. Many of us know that children are products of their environment, but they're born with an innate intelligence and awareness that as adults we have all forgotten our connection to. We don't remember any longer. But as a child, you know, there's no mind stuff, there's no thinking to overcome, there are no feelings to manage. You are a blank slate. And this is pure awareness. This is pure uninterrupted consciousness. This is the purest form that we will ever have in our entire life. And so what happens from the age of, a year and a half to 2 years old, and there are lots of different psychological kind of outlines of this that I'm sure many of you have studied in school, but looking at it from a yogic perspective, the energy of a child is embedded and immersed with the energy field of the mother. So everything is energy in yoga, and we are balls of energy. That energy is essentially just light. And so I'm explaining all of this to you now as adults because when we go through the concepts and why we're saying certain things to children, then this is why. So children know this innately. And as they age and grow, around 2 years old, they begin to cultivate their own separate identity. So they separate their field of energy from their mother or their main caregiver. And then they begin to start experimenting and cultivating this sense of self, this sense of I as separate from you, and therein starts the separation process for kids. So they're not born separate. And this is a really interesting thing when we think about how trauma impacts us through our life. Because as a fetus in the mother's body, everything that the mother experiences is being absorbed into the fetus. The experiences of the external environment and what the mother is going through is all shaping the nervous system of the child. And in yoga, we talk about an energetic system that includes the chakras, which is the 7 main energy centers of our body. And so all of that starts developing before the child is even born. Everything is already set and all of that. So if we think about in our own lives what that means for us and what was going on in your mother's life, what was going on in your mother's environment, what was happening in the world at that time, all of this plays an influence on how your nervous system now responds to your environment. It's mind-blowing when we look at this from an energetic perspective. And so by the time a child is 6 years old, their chakras are the lower 3 chakras, their energy body is fully formed and developed. So everything that they already think about, is this safe? Is this world going to take care of me? Is my environment safe? Am I a good person? Am I a bad person? Should I feel good or shameful or guilty or bad? All of this, my sense of power, my sense of identity, my self-esteem, my ego identity, which is the sense that I am Anjali and that is separate from all of you, is developed by 6 years old. And so when I look at the impact of 0 to 5 and how crucial it is for us to understand what it means to nurture and develop and foster all 4 parts of a child right from the very beginning. This is the nurturing and fostering piece. After that, we go into repair mode. And so repairing is not a bad thing, and we're not right now if we feel like, oh, I wish I'd known this when my kids were small, or I wish my parents, we just stop right there and don't fall into that story of woulda, coulda, woulda, woulda happened. Doesn't matter. We're all exactly where we're supposed to be right at this very moment, and this is when you're supposed to be hearing it. So going into repair mode is not a bad thing, because we're all repairing our own lives, and as we heal, we change our environment and we change the experience for the kids, the grandkids, everybody that's around you in the work that you're doing. So it's never too late. But the repair mode happens after the establishment of the separation, the ego identity, the lower half of the chakras. After that, we still continue developing our understanding of what it means. We move into the upper energetic body, where we think about what it means to be compassionate or have self-love, our ability to trust, where we wonder what our true voice is, who am I? And we kind of move more into the spiritual kind of realm of trying to understand who we are. So who am I? What is my purpose? Am I here for a reason? Am I meant to do, all of this is upper level chakra stuff. And I feel like that this is where a disconnect starts to happen, because now, by the time a kid is 12 or 13, they've gone through this complete process of conditioning, which is all focused on separation and labeling and finding which box you fit into, that when we get to this age of moving into our teenage years, we're so insecure. We don't understand who we are. We fall into these adverse experiences, and then we're trying to cope and we're trying to figure things out, and we don't have any sense of direction or understanding of who we are at our core. And so there's a healing that needs to happen when we start nurturing the spiritual development of ourselves and understanding that we all have a purpose, all of us. And our life and our life experience becomes our story that leads us to our purpose. And so this is very clearly seen in my life story. When I was 17 years old, I had a realization that nothing that I had gone through up to that point was for no reason. It was not possible. There was no possibility for that even being true at all. My life meant something. And the experiences that I had, be them really good or really bad, which a lot of them were, my life meant something. And from that moment, that is the number one thing that has carried me to this place where I am right now, is the understanding that I did have a purpose, that I did have a story to tell, that I did have something to offer. And if we give this to our kids, if kids are able to understand that from the earliest age, that you are good, that you are worthy, that shame and guilt are useless emotions that do not need to be experienced. They serve no purpose other than to keep you from remembering who you really are, which is pure consciousness, which is the complete connection, which liberates us from staying stuck in the stories and the conditioning that society tries to hold us down into. This is the number one thing